Well, that's as good as it's going to get for now. Welcome to Doug's Guitar of the Day, episode 11. Back to electric guitars, back to my favorite model of guitars, Gibson 335. Cherry Red Gibson Dot 335. 2019. Last year they were made in Memphis. Basic 335 construction, plywood body, maple, poplar, maple. I think it's a maple center block, I'm not sure. Hey, you guys, feel free to chime in and correct me. I'm trying to do some pre-research, but it takes a long time with a slow computer like mine. This one was given to me for making the move from the Memphis plant to the Gibson custom shop last year. So I thought that was a really great thing to do. I'm going to be hanging on to this one for a while. MHS2 pickups, I think. Standard volume and tone for each pickup. 3-way switchcraft toggle. I need to order another Gretsch guitar strap lock to put on the switchcraft thing, which is what I do to all my Gibsons pretty much. Really nice, really stable guitar. I've used it quite a bit. Modifications? None really. I got a personalized truss rod cover. Other than that, I switched out the ABR bridge, which had plated brass saddles for nylon saddles. Kind of mellows the tone out a little bit. In a kind of a weird, trippy, psychedelic 70s phase shifter mood today, hence the song. That sound was on a lot of different ballads and stuff like that back in the 70s, and then probably the most popular use of the phase shifter pedal was probably, Eddie Van Halen's Eruption. He kind of took it to a different level, but I don't know. I was thinking about that Love Hurts song by a band called Nazareth, and I thought, well, I wonder if I could do a chord melody thing. So I just kind of woke up this morning, been working on that. It's not perfected yet, but I thought it sounded really pretty on this guitar. Kind of used a lot of effects on it. I generally don't use that much, so I'm trying to tweak everything back to where it was pretty much. Really doesn't matter a whole lot, I suppose. We've talked about 335s before. We've talked about the 50s wiring or output loaded tone control wiring, as it's often called. When they made these guitars in Memphis, they called it the Memphis tone circuit. But that's what it was 50s wiring, which allows you to be able to run your volume wide open. Still got my phase shifter on. And then when you turn your volume down, see if I can get a little bit closer. I had backed up a little bit at the request of Chris Brodnicki because he wanted to see what my left hand was doing during playing. He must be trying to steal some licks or something. Anyway, Memphis tone circuit or 50s wiring or output loaded tone control wiring allows you to turn your volume down and still retain high end. Now you can do this with another method they call a treble bleed capacitor, but it's adding more component. It's not really necessary. Usually I set the switch in the middle using both pickups and run everything on about 7. It's kind of my default. Default sound. Then if I want, then I can turn either pickup up and just not have to, juggle with switching all the time. So I can get a front pickup sound or a rear pickup sound just by turning the corresponding volumes. That's about it for that. Now, one thing that I'm thinking about doing, and I probably mentioned this on the Woodburn Strat that my son did. What I would like to do to one of these 335s, if I could, is make it a lot simpler for me to use on stage. A lot of times with 4 knobs, I get confused and I'm trying to think what the next song is, and I shut myself off and forget where I set everything. What I would like to have is 1 master volume and 1 master tone. And what I would like to do to one of the 335s is where this switch is, I would like to put the volume there, master volume there, where it's close to where I can shut it down or turn it up if I need to. And then the tone, I think the master tone, I would probably use the lead pickup tone for the master tone. And then where this other volume is, which is currently the lead pickup volume control, I would like to put a Strat type 5-way switch, actually what they call a super switch. So I could get 5 different sounds out of 2 humbuckers. But I would have to do a little work and a little modification to this guitar, and it may devalue it. I don't know if this is ever going to be worth anything, but it was the last year they made in Memphis. So maybe I ought to try it on one of my other 2 335s. I don't know. But eventually I'm going to do that. Pick guard, I could take it off and you could see more wood of the body, but probably just leave it there. I know if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I'm always, twiddling with stuff. I wanted to touch on tone capacitors a little bit. Basically, what a tone control is this potentiometer, variable resistor in series with a capacitor. Okay, now I'm not going to make this too egg-headed. I dropped out of electronics community college, so I don't know a whole lot. I just know what it does in terms of sound. So you've got this adjustable variable resistor here that's in series with the capacitor. What that capacitor does is it bleeds depending on the value, it bleeds your high frequencies to ground. Now, if you have a resistor in series with it, it really doesn't do that much. But once you turn this resistor down to 0 resistance, most of that signal goes through the capacitor. and it bleeds the high frequencies to ground. And basically the value of the capacitor determines your cutoff frequency, or which frequencies above a certain point are bled to ground. So basically, the higher the value of your capacitor, the more high end is going to be rolled off when you roll your tone control off. Common capacitors and the ones we use in guitars are measured in microfarads, and Gibson usually uses like a 0.022 microfarad capacitor. Some Fenders, Telecaster I think has a 0.05, and you need to roll more highs to ground on a Tele because they're generally brighter. Okay, I've used everything from a 0.1 to a 0.01. Now, what Gibson started to do, at least in Memphis in the past few years, they used a regular 0.02, which is your common Gibson value for the lead pickup. And then on the front pickup, they went with a 0.015, which kind of didn't bleed as much high end to ground, because your front pickup's generally more mellow, and you don't need to roll off as much high end on that. So that kind of, what that did, having a 0.015 here and a 0.02 here, is kind of balanced them a little bit. I really haven't took this apart to see, what capacitor is in it, but I imagine that's probably what it is. But those are things I like to experiment with, and with the internet nowadays, there's no reason not to know. There's all kinds of websites and a lot of good, useful information.